From JBS Studios in Greater New York, this is the JBS News Update with Teisha Bader.
I'm Teisha Bader with the JBS News Update for Monday, April the 27th, 2020. Yom HaZikaron, Israel's Memorial Day for its fallen and for victims of terror, began this evening. Israelis stood in silence as a 1-minute siren sounded across the country in tribute and memory of Israel's 23,816 fallen soldiers and 4,166 victims of terror. Of course, this year's commemorations are very different because of the coronavirus pandemic. Military cemeteries, which are usually overflowing with bereaved families visiting the graves of their loved ones, are closed to the public. Though, as IDF Chief of Staff Lieutenant General Aviv Kochavi explained in a ceremony this evening, IDF soldiers are visiting each and every grave today and tomorrow and placing an Israeli flag with a black ribbon of mourning to stand in solidarity with the bereaved families who cannot be there themselves. A national memorial ceremony was held at the Western Wall Plaza in Jerusalem with no audience present. Israel's President Reuven Rivlin spoke at the ceremony, saying, "This year, we can't cry together, but we remember." At the end of that ceremony, Israelis were asked to go out to their balconies and to their windows to sing Israel's national anthem, Hatikva, the Hope. Rivlin also addressed a Yom HaZikaron ceremony in English held tonight online by Masa Israel Journey, which provides Israel experiences for young adults from around the world. Masa Israel acting CEO Ofer Gutman said, "This ceremony connects the global Jewish community through the story and people of Israel. We are coming together through darkness and lifting one another up. At a time of global crisis, our unity is vital." Tonight on JBS, by the way, we are also airing a 1-minute siren to remember the fallen. That's at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. And there are also a number of initiatives to mark the day virtually, including virtual visits with bereaved families through an organization called Connect to Care. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and his wife Sarah took part in such a virtual call on Zoom tonight, where the Prime Minister shared his own story with other bereaved families of the loss of his brother Yonatan in the raid at Entebbe in 1976. And just before the beginning of Yom HaZikaron and Yom HaAtzmaut, Israel's Independence Day, the country's Central Bureau of Statistics released its figures for Israel's population, which it said stands at nearly 9.2 million, a growth of 171,000 people, or 1.9% this year. Approximately 74% of the population is Jewish, 21% Arab. At the time of the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948, the population of Israel was 806,000. And the Israel Democracy Institute published a survey ahead of the country's 72nd Independence Day, which showed an increase in the sense of belonging felt by Israelis. The survey, which is part of a series tracking how Israelis are feeling during the coronavirus crisis, found that among 762 participants who were asked, 90% of Israelis, 92.5% of Jews, and 77% of Arabs answered that they feel they are an integral part of the state and share a common destiny very much or quite a lot. Of particular note, an increase from just 68.5% of the ultra-Orthodox respondents from last year to 93.5% this year, and in the Arab Israeli community, up 35% from last year. Dr. Or Anabi, who conducted the survey, told the Times of Israel that the current health crisis could be part of the explanation for that surge. Anabi said the coronavirus epidemic, with all the restrictions and difficulties it imposes on us all, seems to also have a positive impact on Israeli society. Today, a few days before Israel celebrates its 72nd Independence Day, a majority of the public feels part of the State of Israel and shares in its problems. The level of cohesion in Israeli society, he said, is at the highest rate we have measured in the past decade. And here on JBS, special programming as we stand with the state and people of Israel on this Yom HaZikaron. At 7 o'clock, Benny Morris talks about Israel's War of Independence. Then at 8, as mentioned, we will observe a 1 minute of silence, followed by a reading of The Silver Platter by Mike Burston. Then it's an in-depth look at the history of Israeli-Arab conflict from 1880 to the present. And at 9 tonight, Mark Golub speaks with Leah Golden, mother of IDF Lieutenant Hadar Golden, who was murdered by Hamas in 2014. She describes her more than 5 years of efforts to move the world community to demand that Hamas comply with international norms and return her son's body. That's on L'chaim tonight. At 10, Colonel Richard Kemp talks about the IDF's uniquely moral combat rules of engagement. At 10:30, a look at the film Above and Beyond. And coming up right after this newscast, the story of the IDF heroes of the 1967 Six-Day War and the Battle of Ammunition Hill. And that's the JBS News Update for Monday, April the 27th, 2020. I'm Teisha Bader. Stay healthy, stay well.